This is Steve Goldsmith, and we're continuing to do profiles on mayoral leadership, where a strong mayor has taken an initiative, used his political talents and his programmatic talents to accomplish something substantial for his community. And today I'm with Mayor Nichols of Seattle. Mayor, we're looking at leadership, and your leadership in the issue of environment is particularly interesting in many respects. But let me start first with, other than the obvious, why the environment? Why not trash or crime or parks? Why did you elevate this issue?
It's interesting. When I became mayor, January of 2002, climate change, global warming was not on the front burner, if you will, of my issues. We had just gone through 9/11. Boeing Company was laying off 30,000 people in commercial airplane manufacturing. We lost 100,000 jobs, so the economy and jobs was number one. And keeping our city safe, making sure that we had security was right up there as well. But during the winter of 2004-2005, we suffered the driest, if you will, winter on record in the Cascade Mountains. Meant that there was no ski season, which for many people was a tragedy. But for me it was important because we run our electric utility. We have a municipally owned electric utility, and obviously we have the water supply, both of which are fed by snow melt in the spring. No snow, no melt, no power, no water. So it became an issue that wasn't something far away or way in the future, but something that was here and now for Seattle. And so I took that opportunity to raise the issue of climate change, climate protection, and the environment, and start to pull together what we had already been doing in conservation and many other environmental issues, and really organize them around the idea of trying to protect the climate, protect our energy source and our water source.
How did you convince the public? I mean, Seattle's an environmentally friendly city, but you still have to convince the public that this issue needs to be elevated. How did you go about doing that?
Well, the first step that I took was to pledge that Seattle would reduce our greenhouse gas pollution by the amount that the Kyoto Protocol called for, which was 7% from 1990 levels. But recognizing it's hard to ask people to take hard action in their own lives if it's only symbolic, I challenged mayors across the country to join with me, thinking that in common cause it wouldn't simply be symbolic. We hope to attract 141 cities, one for every country that had adopted the Kyoto Protocol, but we've gone well beyond that. As of today, we have 739 cities. They represent over 76 million Americans. Literally 1 in 4 Americans lives in a city that's pledged to reduce their greenhouse gas pollution. So it's not symbolic. It now is a very real effort with 739 laboratories across the country figuring out how we keep this promise that we made.
And how did you go about convincing business that this was good for them as well?
The first step for us locally was to lead by example. So we've reduced our own corporate emissions of the city by 60% from 1990 levels. Our municipally owned electric utility has 0 net greenhouse gas emissions. They're the first electric utility in the country that can say that. We took that example and then we recruited business leadership, civic leadership, environmental leadership to come together and put a plan together for the entire community. And that plan called for reducing our emissions by 680,000 tons, which is 7% from 1990 levels. So we engaged the business community right from the front in writing that plan. Today, we're taking the next step, and that's engaging not just the leadership of the community, but the entire community. We've kicked off something called the Seattle Climate Action Network, or Climate Action Now. It's a year-long campaign to go out to every community in the city, get them aware of the issue, and get them aware of the specific things that an individual can do in their home or their business to reduce their emissions. We even have started a Save Our Santa campaign, recognizing that the North Pole, the polar ice cap is melting and that reindeer can fly, but maybe they can't swim. We're trying to get kids interested in what the long-term impact of this climate change might be.
In terms of championing the cause, how explicit was it to the residents of Seattle that you were also attempting to convince hundreds of mayors to join the cause?
It's interesting. For a long time, I'm not sure that the The Seattle press really picked up on it. The community didn't really pick up on it at the beginning. But we took opportunities to link the two. So we recently had a summit of 120 mayors in Seattle. We had former President Clinton and former Vice President Gore attend that. We had Mayor Bloomberg, Mayor Villagrosa from the two largest cities in the country. And it suddenly dawned on our local press that this was something not just going on in Seattle, but really something that was a nationwide movement. And so we used that to kick off our local campaign, to get people excited that I'm not just doing this in a vacuum. It's not just me changing out my light bulbs or my shower head, but I'm doing it in conjunction with millions of other people around the country, so it makes a difference.
You've been spending time talking to new mayors. If you were to kind of step back and say innovation, leadership, mayor may have global warming as a cause, may have housing as a cause, may have crime as a cause, but what lessons would you suggest? What places to start for a city leader who wants to make a change in their community?
Well, one of the things that I've learned in my 6 years is that these issues are all interconnected. So for me, the solution to climate change is going to be more people living in close proximity to where they work, fewer freeways leading 30, 40, 50 miles to bedroom communities. That means that we have to make our cities compelling places. They need to be safe. One wouldn't normally think of public safety as a climate issue or an environmental issue, but to make the city a compelling place, you have to have it. Affordable housing, good schools, good public schools that attract families back into cities rather than send them out to the suburbs. All of those things are interconnected. And to the extent that you see the work that you do as mayor as affecting the entire life of a community and not just an individual issue, and not allowing your city government to be in silos where they're only looking at one aspect of one problem as opposed to the overall common good of the city. I think that'd be the thing I'd share.
Mayor, I appreciate your leadership. Thank you.